Welcome to the Stoic Responder Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Healy. As a special agent who spent more than 15 years conducting large-scale fraud, money laundering, and public corruption investigations, Stoic philosophy provided a mindset edge that became the foundation of my professional success. My mission today is to share those same ancient mindset lessons with you so that you can turn obstacles into opportunities and adversity into advantage. Time to muster up. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is episode 75 of the Stoic Responder Podcast. Episode title today is Be Ready. And if you are guessing that there's a theme this week because of what's happening around the world, you're right. I put together 4 episodes this week that I think speak to the Stoic idea of premeditatio malorum. That means premeditating the bad that could happen. That means not, I'm not trying to give you advice on being a prepper, on building your bunker in the woods or any of that stuff. There are people far more qualified who have podcasts and skill sets that can speak to that. You can go find them. They're out there. What I'm trying to speak to is the mindset of understanding and recognizing the reality of the world around us and what we need to do to be prepared for whatever may come. And that's inspired by recent events. There's a lot going on in the world right now between Hurricane Helene affecting the Southeast, between the longshoreman strike going on that is going to impact every port, every shipping port practically on the East Coast and inside the Gulf of Mexico. And, that's inspired by what's happening in the Middle East and in Europe right now. We have obviously a couple of wars going on that the United States is attached to in one way or another, either funding or financing or otherwise. And so there's a lot going on in the world that's external that could be causing stress to you, that could be causing you to worry. And what the Stoics would tell us to do is go ahead, premeditate exactly what could happen to you, and then control what you can from an internal perspective to be prepared for it. So before we get started today on this particular episode, let me start you out by talking about 2 of my favorite organizations. One is the Overwatch Collective. They are a nonprofit and podcast that supports law enforcement community by providing mental health initiatives and services to our first responders, veterans, and their families. You can check them out at the overwatchcollective.com. You can buy some of their merch. You can make a donation. They are supporting our law enforcement community in amazing ways by helping people get the services that they need so they can stay on the job and stay healthy and fit to serve. Speaking of which, Blue Badge Coffee Company, I'm wearing their sweatshirt right now. It's one of my favorite sweatshirts. I am so trying to make fall happen in Houston. It just hasn't quite happened yet, but indoors, we got the air conditioning going, I can pull this sweatshirt off. And it's one of my favorite sweatshirts to wear. Looking forward to being able to wear it every single day as fall comes calling. But Blue Badge Coffee Company is a premium coffee company, and they take a portion of each and every sale and donate to law enforcement agencies around our great nation to assist them in funding and or maintaining peer support and wellness programs for the officers in their communities. That is some of the first things that get cut when we defund police departments are the initiatives that fund well-being and peer support to help people manage their emotions, to help people manage the stresses of the job area. Those are some of the first things that get cut, and Blue Badge Coffee Company is trying to make up that difference by taking a portion of each and every sale of their coffee or their products like this awesome sweatshirt I'm wearing and donating it to law enforcement agencies around the nation to help maintain those programs. So if you're interested in supporting our law enforcement community, check them out at bluebadgecoffee.com. Get yourself some awesome coffee, get yourself a sweatshirt, and continue to support the men and women behind the badge. Folks, I don't take any money for advertisements. I read these every single episode because I believe in the mission of these companies and because the Stoics teach us acta non verba. They teach us to act, not talk. And because I make a living talking, I try to do some action while I'm doing it. And my little action here is to support companies that I believe in and let you know about those companies. So I'd appreciate you supporting them as well. Let me start you out with a quote from Seneca. In the days of peace, the soldier performs maneuvers, throws up earthworks with no enemy in sight, and wearies himself by gratuitous toil in order that he may be equal to unavoidable toil. If you would not have a man flinch when the crisis comes, train him before it comes. Folks, as I said, the title of episode 75 is Be Ready. And the first thing that comes to mind when I'm reading this quote from Seneca is the Gadsden flag. The Gadsden flag, for those that don't know, is that yellow flag with a rattlesnake on it emblazoned with the words, "Don't tread on me." It became a proud emblem of resistance to the British rule in the early days of the American Revolution. And it was kind of inspired and popularized by an essay that was written by Benjamin Franklin in 1775, in which Franklin highlighted the eastern rattlesnake and its unique traits, such as vigilance and its readiness to defend itself when provoked, and also the danger of underestimating it due to its smaller size and stature. Those of you who live in Texas who've seen rattlesnakes, they're a little bit bigger than the eastern rattlesnake. The eastern rattlesnake is relatively small, and Franklin saw that as a fitting kind of tribute to the spirit of the American Revolution. He saw it as kind of symbolic of the colony's determination, their ability to defend their rights, their potential consequences for those who would underestimate their resolve, like King George was doing. And Franklin's essay, it was inspired in large part by the battles of Lexington and Concord, where the so-called Minutemen had engaged the British a few months prior to him writing it. And anyone who knows the story knows, anyone who grew up in New England like I did absolutely knows the story of the battles of Lexington and Concord. You know that the Minutemen were not professional soldiers. They were farmers, they were merchants, they were husbands, they were fathers, they were brothers. But they regularly trained and drilled so that they could rapidly answer a call in the event of a threat. Now, at the time, the threat was the frontier. They were dealing with Native American tribes. They were dealing with hostile tribes that would raid and that would, come into their communities. And so they trained for that. But then they also had a threat as these tensions started to rise with the British. And so these were just everyday men and women, or well, not women. They were everyday men who were trained to respond at a moment's notice if their communities were threatened. Otherwise, they were going about their daily work as merchants, as lawyers, as farmers, as husbands, as fathers, whatever they were. But they trained to be ready to rapidly answer a call that might never come. It's a proud tradition in America. We still have people who train that way today. We have the Texas State Guard is a great example. We have the state guards in other states like Florida. We have militia groups. Now, I know that gets a negative connotation because the media has played up some of these groups that are, maybe ideologically questionable in some of their beliefs, or that are outside the mainstream. But the very idea of being prepared for something that might threaten the safety and security of your family or community is a very American thing to do, going right back to our foundation in the battles of Lexington and Concord. And that's what Franklin was saying in this essay. He was saying the eastern rattlesnake is peaceful. It will remain peaceful until threatened. But if it is threatened, it will be violent, deeply violent, right? And that is what the Minutemen were too. They were very similar to that. Now, as I said at the onset here, we're dealing with a confluence of things that are happening in our world, that are happening in our country, and it makes those external pressures can make us feel stressed. They can make us feel like, what are we going to do? What's going to happen? The same way we felt, a lot of those feelings that we had at the beginning of the pandemic, beginning of COVID, those same sort of feelings of panic, of fear, of what are we going to do? And what the Stoics would tell us is go ahead and premeditate the worst that could happen, and then focus on the internals that you can do to prepare for that. Now, as a resident of the Gulf Coast, I am so fully on board with this, because every single June when hurricane season begins, right through the end of October when it ends, we stock up on rice, we stock up on beans, we stock up on canned goods, we make sure that our propane tanks are topped off, we keep our gas tanks topped off in our vehicles, we make sure that we have plenty of medications for our kids and our dogs, we have dog food, we have cash taken out, we have our documents in Ziploc bags and placed into a fireproof safe that we can easily grab and take with us, we have batteries for our weather radio, we have a whole home generator that we invested in. We make sure that we have everything that we need. We have a water filtration system. We have all of these things in place because we live in a place where a Cat 5 storm could spin up and in 24, 36, or 48 hours be impacting the community that we live in. So we want to make sure that we are as prepared as we can be for what might happen, while also knowing that we might be spending money and time and effort to prepare for something that might never come. In the same way the Minutemen would drill so that they could rapidly answer a call that might never come. But boy, oh boy, when that call came, when Paul Revere came riding through and that call came, they answered. And they answered in a way that created a new nation eventually. So like the Minutemen, we have to drill. We have to remain vigilant. We have to be ready to respond at a moment's notice to whatever threatens our communities, whatever threatens our safety and security. And that is what the Stoics would tell us, and that's what Seneca is telling us in this quote. We have to be like the rattlesnake. We must remain vigilant, but peaceful until threatened. We must remain violent or capable of great violence, but under voluntary control. That is the true weight of premeditatio malorum. So for each of us, the question that really bears asking is the training that I am doing preparing me for crisis, or will a crisis find me unequal to the task? Let me leave you all with a journal prompt. I'll get you on your way. Ask yourself this. In light of everything that's happening in our world right now, in light of the longshoreman strike, in light of Hurricane Helene, in light of these various hot spots around the globe that could turn into conflagrations that drag other nations into them, in light of those things, what are you doing to be prepared? Are you doing all that you can to be prepared, to take care of your family, your community? Now, as I said, I'm not, the person to seek information and resources from for supply lists and prepping and all that stuff. That's another podcast from another person. There's Instagram accounts. There's plenty of people out there who are Navy SEALs or Green Berets who can speak to that sort of stuff. I have some other books on my bookshelf back here because I am interested in learning from people who know more than me. That's what I'm doing to be prepared. But I want you to ask yourself, am I doing all that I can to be prepared in light of everything that is happening around us in this world right now? That's what the Stoics would have you do, and that's what I would ask you to do as well. All right, folks, thanks for listening to the podcast. If you're enjoying it and you want to support this podcast, there's a few ways that you can do so. Number one, you can pick up a copy of my book, In Valor, 365 Stoic Meditations for First Responders, which is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you get your books. It's available on Kindle and Nook as well for instant download right now. You can get the paperback edition as well. It's a great resource for anybody, especially law enforcement and first responders, but really anybody who operates in a fast, uncertain, and rapidly evolving environment and wants to practice this philosophy on a daily basis. It's going to give you quotes, contextualization that are directly relatable to modern life. And it's going to give you daily journal prompts like the one I just gave you and action items that are going to help you integrate these lessons. Number two, you can subscribe to Substack at thestoicresponder.substack.com for free. You can get these podcasts delivered directly into your inbox as well as the weekly newsletter. On that page, there's a space where you can sign up for a paid membership and donate. You don't get anything else on top and beyond what the free subscribers get. You're going to get the same either way. But if you want to support the podcast and help us keep this up and running, feel free to make a donation over there. And finally, the easiest thing that you can do and the thing that I appreciate the most is to like, share, and subscribe so that others can learn about what we're doing here. Wherever you listen to this podcast, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, wherever you're getting this, do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe. Give it a rating if you can. Give it a 5-star rating if you think it's worth it. That helps us out a lot and costs you absolutely nothing. So, folks, I got 2 more episodes for you this week, kind of touching on similar themes. Hopefully that gives you some mindset edge as we deal with an uncertain external world. It gives you a mindset edge so that you can focus on things internal to you that can help you be prepared for the things that you cannot control. 2 more episodes this week. Until next time, folks, you are out of roll. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, like, rate, and share this podcast so that we can spread the benefits of Stoicism to other first responders. It will only take you a few moments, but it can help us tremendously. Until next time, out of roll.